Hello and welcome back to Focus Atlanta again. I am your host, Keisha Lancelin. Thanks so much for continuing to watch. In this segment, we're going to talk a little bit about suicide prevention as it is Suicide Prevention Month. I'm here with Dr. Jasmine Ataga of the University of Phoenix.
Hi, thank you for having me. Super excited to be here and just be able to share some resources as ways we can support individuals and students who may be having thoughts of suicide.
Thank you so much for making time to talk with us again here on Focus Atlanta. You know, it's such an incredible time to talk about this with students, especially with what just happened right here in Georgia at Appalachian High School. So can we talk about what those steps look like for the adults working with children and for the children themselves?
Of course. So one thing I always like to tell parents and those staff members who may be in the school system is establish relationships. So with parents, please get to know the school counselors at your child's school and help your child to establish a relationship. Yes, we want the child to have rapport with the teachers, but our teachers are doing so much within the classroom. It's really important if any thoughts come up or if the child is just feeling anxious and not safe at school, that they be able to have another trusted adult, and that is the school counselor. Similarly, our school counselors are trained to go into the classroom, and staff members working in the schools, please always reinforce having the child have a good relationship with the school counselor so we can kind of bridge those resources and the child knows that they're not alone.
I think it's so important that parents and adults feel like they have a role. When things like this happen in our community, when they happen in our schools, we all feel helpless. That is the major emotion that everybody has, is this helpless feeling. But to give us some tips about knowing that we could play a role, we could help, we could talk to, we could be a listening ear. What can we do?
Of course. So first thing we want to do, especially for parents or those that have guardianship over children, one thing that we want to do when it comes to getting to know the child and getting to know what's going on in their head is not asking, hey, how was school? Or how's your day going? It's simply getting to know that experience. What happened today? Tell me one thing that I wouldn't know otherwise. And then once that child gives you that experience, you can then ask, how are you feeling about that? What thoughts did you have about that? That allows the parent and the guardian to get a better idea of how the child is navigating life stressors. The second thing we want to do, and I know this is going to make some parents stop in their tracks, but I think it's really important, is to get that suicide and crisis line in the phone as a favorite number. So that suicide and crisis line is 988. When you call that number, there are trained professionals on the line that can help any individual, no matter the age, be able to speak about thoughts of suicide or any anxious thoughts that they're having regarding safety. And the last thing that we really, and this is for any age group, the last thing that we really want to have is have an established person you can speak to. So even if the individual does not have resources to speak to a counselor such as myself, you still have somebody that you trust. Oftentimes what we find is when somebody resorts to suicide or resorts to other actions that can harm others, they did cry out. And it's really important when you can be that person that they cry out to, or they have someone else that they can cry out to in order to get help. So those are the three things I would really recommend.
That is so incredibly helpful. Again, that feeling of hopelessness and helplessness it does not just, translate for the adults in the school and the adults around that child. It translates for the child. It translates for the child's friends. And we all need some place to go. So thank you again for that number. I'm going to ask you to give that number one more time, just in case, someone needs to write it down, put it in their phone, have it stored.
Exactly. So suicide crisis line is 988. So just like we call 911 when we need help and emergency services, when you need mental health emergency services, that line is 988. Please have it stored in your phone and in your child's phone and explain to them what that number is for. there needs to be conversations with the parent and child around suicide because believe it or not, most adults will attest to having had suicidal thoughts when they were much younger. They just felt shame around it or didn't have anyone to speak to. So once you already open up that conversation in the home, you could do that with the phone number. It helps to once again build communication. So when they do cry out, they feel trusted to do that with the adult.
Oh, Dr. Otaga, thank you so much for coming back on Focus Atlanta. This was so helpful, so incredibly and easy to do. You've given us points that are easy to do, easy to chat with our children, with our family members. We appreciate your time. It was good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. I guess, for me, the biggest tip there is this could be a way to start the conversation. Sometimes you don't even know how to broach the conversation. Maybe, discussing putting that number in your phone and putting it in their phone is a good way for you to start the conversation even. Please take the opportunity to learn a little bit more about what you can do in your life, in your household, to help prevent the tragedies that we see, like the one that just happened at Appalachia High School. Thanks, guys, for tuning in to this segment of Focus Atlanta. We'll be right back with more.